Okay, back with another book review, and this month it is Cunning Words, a grimoire of tales and magic by Marshall WSL. This is Marshall Witch of Southern Light, is the name that he goes by. He's very active on social media, so if you want to go and check out his Instagram, TikTok, etc., go and do so. Some great stuff there. And also he has a Pathos? Hang on, let me just go double check. I'm not talking rubbish. Yes, he's got a Pathos blog, which is very good. Excellent stuff. And yeah, no, go check him out. Great. Oh, also, there is a follow-up to this one that's coming soon, called The Red Mother. It's not published yet. He is displaying the cover on his Instagram and TikTok, well, all social media, I assume. But yeah, it's coming out soon. So if you do enjoy this, I loved this book. Absolutely loved it. But if you enjoy it, then go and check out, watch out for the second book. So you can really kind of sum this book up in one word: art. It just is art. It's storytelling. And we keep saying that storytelling is almost like becoming a lost art. And this really does captivate storytelling itself. I do want to just go and check just quickly, something I'm doing now is checking the book, the actual customer reviews. This has got 136 global ratings. I think this kind of speaks for itself. There was one review in the 4 stars. There's nothing, and if you click on the 3 stars, there's absolutely nothing there. So I don't know why it's even showing up as 1%. But if you go to the 4 stars, there's really one review that is it's helpful. He does go into the fact that the storytelling part is fantastic. The poetry side, it's lacking if you compare the two, the storytelling and the poetry itself. The poetry side is lacking a bit. Yeah, I do kind of agree with that. It still does add to the value of the book. But anyway, let's get into the whole thing. So it is, I think this is self-published as far as I remember. Let me just double check the inside. There's no publishing. It's got all these little sigils all over as well. And it starts off, you can tell it's fiction, storytelling. Let me just check. Yeah, self-published by Marshall, The Witch of Southern Light, 2023. Okay. Let me just. One thing that is worthy of mention, and he does mention this in the introduction itself. You'll notice there's a huge gap between paragraphs. It's also not justified. It's left aligned. Which is unusual for books. I have seen the very big space between the paragraphs before. Normally it's not this big, if you look into non-fiction books, they've usually, it isn't the indentation as you go to the new paragraph. It's usually a space between, but not this big. The reason it has done that is for neurodivergent people. It actually makes it easier to read, and I have to admit, I did find it easier to read, much easier. So he has taken that into consideration, which I think is brilliant. So the first part, let's just get past the preface. Okay, so the first part is a collection of stories, and these are absolutely fantastic. They capture your imagination. They really are great stories. They are storytelling, and it's, I would say, at its finest. What you find is that each story is completely different to all the other stories. And there's little bits of magic actually woven into them. So, for instance, Spirit Contracts. This story is about someone who goes to the crossroads and calls on the man in black at the crossroads. So it's got these little conjurations or charms that you can use in your own magic. And there's little bits hidden here and there, and this is actually one of those books you kind of want to get now, read it, take from it what you can, and then in 10 years' time read it again, because you're going to find that you're going to pick up lots of little nuances and things that you didn't pick up previously, because you've got more knowledge at that stage. But as I said, each story is very different from the previous one, but there's a common theme. They all kind of weave together. As you start to get further and further into the stories themselves, you kind of start to pick up the interconnectedness of all of them. So you start picking up new names like Ilian, for instance. Now, I have to say, there were two stories in here that I just connected with. I don't know, they pulled at my heartstrings. I really did pull at my heartstrings. And the interesting thing that I only realized when I was halfway through the second story itself was that it wasn't the main character of both stories, but there was a common character that comes through in both stories. And for some reason, I just connected with them so deeply. And the other thing I have to mention, I watch movies and I do connect with the characters in the movies, and I cry a lot in movies. I cannot remember if I ever have, and if I have, I just cannot remember when it was, actually cried when reading a fiction book. And I cried. One of these stories, I'm not going to tell you which one, I bawled my freaking eyes out. So it really, I did connect deeply with this book, and I think it was absolutely amazing. So anyway, first part is stories. He does have author's notes, which gives you a bit of background of where or what inspired him to write the actual story itself. And as I said, it just kind of each story weaves into the previous stories, and towards the end you start to pick all of the different threads up, and which is fantastic. It really is. And they are really filled with magic, and there's a reason. I'm trying to get to the second part, and then we've got the third part. Well, it's a bit longer than I remembered. Witch bottles, brilliant chapter. It kind of actually goes into the two types of witch bottles that you can create. One for a counterattack and one for further protection. And it's all written in fiction. It's got the little charms that you can read to create the witch bottles themselves. The one story that I connected with was about knot magic, and the method of doing the knot magic I absolutely loved. Then it's got the 7 holy siblings, which are actually the 7 planets. So he's created these little sigils, which actually have the sigil from Agrippa's the magic squares, planetary squares that Agrippa created with the planetary intelligences. So it's got those included. The planetary spirits, not the intelligences. And then let me get to part 2. So part 2 is Cunning Rhymes, Magic in Verse. And it's just these little rhymes, little poems that are charms. They're used to explain the actual oil itself, in this case the cunning oil. They're used to explain the oil, and also give you a bit of a rhyme that you can do, and then explains how to make the cunning oil creation, the recipe, how you do it, hot extraction, cold extraction, the little charm that you can say over it while you're creating it, an elixir of protection. Same thing. It's got a charm which explains the poem which explains it, and then the actual recipe and the creation. So it goes into all of these, and it's not just the oils. It's crossroad nails, how to use crossroad nails, for Bane, etc. Lucky charms. So I don't want to go through all of them. I'll prefer it if you actually got it yourself. But these also then tie into the stories that were told in part 1. Okay. Then in part 3, if I can get there. It's part 3, almost there, please hold. Okay, so part 3 is the Cunning Compendium. So this is kind of a collection of spell workings of if you know, I actually get people who ask me which book I would recommend for spells, and I don't actually pick up books that have spells in. But if you do want them, you know, especially if it's traditional witchcraft, this is great. You know, there's loads and loads of spells, and it goes into things like how to create full moon water and dark moon water. There's also how to create black salt. And a good mention actually is he also mentions in author's notes again using black ova, which is actually Latin for eggs. So if you don't want to use salt because you will be burying it, which is then detrimental to the actual soil and detrimental to the plants and the environment, then you can use black ova instead of black salt. Great method, great inclusion, I thought. How to use dirt. Different kinds of dirt, creation of familiars, sachets, poppets. Got puppet magic in here, flying ointment, and I'm actually making this at the moment myself just to test it out. It's a basic flying ointment you find in a variety of other books. This was also mentioned in Keldon's book, I believe. It's just your Artemisia. Sorry about the exposure, keep going up and down. It's your basic Artemisia ointment. And then, yeah, so it goes into a variety of different things, how to make a chanting thing. Then it's got different grimoires, actually. You've got Grand's grimoire, and then it's just this collection of little spells and charms and recipes, just for general stuff. And then you have the Red Book, which is the 3 knots of the Red Mother, and goes into, again, you know, protection, love thyself, red fire, so all different types of spells in there as well. And then the Green Book, which is more about healing, again, more spells, more charms, more recipes. And then the Black Book, which is more your malefic, your baneful type of magic, return to sender spells and all that stuff. And yeah, and that's all Talismans of the 7 Holy Siblings, which is back to the planets, planetary magic. It's got the charms that you can actually use with the sigils that were in the poetry section for each of the planets. And yeah, that's it. So I thought this was a brilliant book. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. And as I said, to sum it up in one word, art. That's really what it is. It's storytelling, and it's done in a very, very good way. Right, that's just showing you the chapter outline there, just so you can see what's involved there. All right, and that's it for this month's review. I will put the link, as always, in the corner. It should be over here, over this side. No, I don't know, somewhere. Just click the little eye in the corner, and also in the description I'll put the link to this book in there, so you can go and get it yourself. And if you do go buy the paperback, I do thank you, and for the support, and also for supporting Marshall, the Witch of Southern Light. Okay, have a good one. Cheers for now. Bye bye.